Hey YouTube, here we are with this part. Let me show you kind of what I'm doing here. Got the kid to give me a hand this afternoon. Didn't do nearly as much as I wanted to do before the kid got here. Matter of fact, I didn't do anything. But got a bunch of I'm doing it again, 16 gauge, not 3/16, 16 gauge sheet cut. This right here is one of the bases for the shelves. Okay, this is the other base. And I've got all the strips that I'm going to need to finish off the hangers for these. They're all cut. The only thing I got to do, because they were all plasma cut with my PowerPlasma 50, so the only thing I need to do is knock off the dross from cutting that, which isn't too much. And that's pretty much it as far as those, and then just take all the bins off and get those welded up, and that part is finished. With these plates or sheets, what I'm getting ready to do here is I'm going to mark off the 3/4 inch corner right here, because I need to notch both of these, one here and the other one here, so that it clears around that. Outside of that area, everywhere else, there's no notching. It just sits flat on there. And that's because this was if you've been watching my videos, you know that this leg on the outside was an afterthought. So if I were to do this again, it wouldn't be doubled up the way it is here. This inside leg or inside support here wouldn't be there at all, so I wouldn't even have to notch this. But because of the way it is, that's the way it's going down. It's no big deal. Take me about 2 minutes to notch both of these out. And then I'll rest them in there, and we'll go from there. I cut them a little bit smaller than the outside dimensions of that square, and just because you're not going to see the edges at all, and it eventually is going to be boxed all the way in, so any kind of variation, like for instance this, where the top doesn't come all the way to the edge, will be fine on that, because I'm only going to tack weld that all the way around. The only area that might not be tack welded will be this front edge. I've got to see how it goes when I start welding on it, and see how much the metal will tolerate before it starts really warping. Because my main concern is that I have a flat floor. I don't want it to be all warped and jacked up. So we'll play that one by ear. Right now I've got these scrap pieces of metal here. They're obviously either powder coated or painted. I believe they're probably powder coated. I think I was just doing some measurements. I think I actually have enough not only to wrap the sides of the cabinet area and the backs on both of them, but I think I have enough to put the side panel on this and the other side, and the floor of this shelf all the way across. I'm 99.99% positive that I have enough metal to do that. The question is, do I have enough metal for the back? I know this, which was some leftover of the 16 gauge, will span at least one of those lengths. The question is, do I have enough of this left over to do the other two? And if I do I want to use that metal next to this? And I'm not entirely sure. I'll kind of play that again by ear, because ultimately what I want to have happen is, once it's painted, I don't want there to be a defined transition between metal thicknesses. So if this metal is thick enough where I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue, and I'm kind of thinking it is, but it's hard to say because it does have powder coating on it. then I'll probably do that. We'll play that one by ear, and you'll see later on in this video. So anyway, let me get to work and I'll talk to you in a second. Okay, so here's what I got going on. I cut the top. In my video last night I talked about the top not being quite 8 feet. It was actually like, I had to cut this much off of it. So 1/2 inch plus the thickness of the plasma cutter torch. So basically what I did was I took this and lined this edge up where I had just a little bit of the brace underneath it showing. And then I came over here with a straight edge, one of these pieces of metal, and I lined it up on this side where I would achieve the same thing. And then slid the whole thing over enough for me to cut it, had that straight edge clamped down, and then just swiped across there and cut it. Now when you do that, you got to keep in mind you got to compensate for the torch because you're using a straight edge. And don't mind this tip on here is trashed, but your straight edge follows, there you go, follows along the side of this where the actual nozzle is off by maybe like an 1/8 inch or somewhere in that ballpark, 3/16 of an inch, depending on what you're using for a straight edge. So compensate for that. Then I slid this back onto to position where it's supposed to go. Made sure everything was good to go. Once I knew it was, I used another straight edge and basically followed from this post to the post that you see behind the pegboard and put a straight edge there, and then just put some dots where I knew I wanted to punch a hole with the plasma cutter. Okay, what that's going to allow me to do is plug weld this top to the bar that's underneath it. Sure, I could have went underneath and done some spot welds like that. I didn't want to, and hopefully I don't regret that, but I think this will work out. I'm going to hit this with a grinder real quick just to get a little bit of the dross that's actually coming off with my hand, but just to clean that up just a tad. And then I'm going to break out the welder and plug weld all of those. I might just do a couple and then let it cool down, and then do a couple, let it cool down. We'll see how it goes. At this point, I've got that clamped down. I'm trying to use my Everlast PowerPlasma 50 as much as I can. I'm sharing the 220 volt outlet between my welder and the plasma cutter, so I don't like unplugging things and then plugging it back in, unplugging things and then plugging it back in. So what I think I might do right now, that's all clamped down, ready to go. Probably work on cleaning the dross off of all these pieces, get those ready to go, and then start measuring for the side panels and everything. Maybe I'll start with the shelf. Maybe start measuring for the paneling that's going to be the floor for the shelf, and then lay that piece of metal down here, grind off where I need to grind off to cut it, and then cut those sections out and work from there. I think if I do that, then I'll be able to tack all the floors down, the floor of the cabinets, the floor of the bench top, whatever, and then the floor of the shelf up there. I think and then be able to get all the bin hangers attached properly. If I can get that done tonight, which it shouldn't be no problem, everything's ready to go, then I'll be pretty happy. Then I could spend some time trying to utilize as much of this metal as I can to spend the rest of the night just getting those pieces cut and find out how far I can stretch it. So talk to you guys. Okay, got some progress done. Got the top shelf. Like I said, I was going to utilize some of those. I changed my mind about boxing in the cabinets on the bottom with this stuff. And the reason being is that this is definitely powder coated, and it's okay for the top, but if you look here where I had to grind it down so that I can weld it, you can feel a difference in the transition there. And like I said, it's okay for the top. You're not going to see any of that from the bottom, and you're not going to see any of the top because it's so tall. The sides and the back are going to be, you know, boxed in. There'll be some metal along there. So it's okay for the, like I said, for the top shelf, but I don't want it on the sides. That's going to be very, very visible, and I want good, clean sheet metal, so when it gets painted, you don't see any imperfections where I had to grind down the old powder coat. So I'm not going to do that. Plus, it's just a royal pain in the ass. This is one of those times where I kind of wish I had a sandblaster, but then again, I could have probably warped up the metal pretty good trying to sandblast all that powder coating off of it. So anyway, when I cut these, I did utilize the bends that were already in there. I also there's holes in here that were, I don't know what the hell they were for, probably screw holes or something. But I put those in here so that eventually, when I run the electrical in here for the lights, I have a place to run the wires through. Don't know for sure if I'm going to use those or not, but they're there, and I figured it would work for that if necessary. The fit's real nice. So everything's good to go as far as that's concerned. So right now I'm gonna just clear out this area, get the sawhorses out of here, get all this metal out of the way so I can get my welding cart over here closer to the bench, and I'm gonna start working on getting all this stuff welded up. I'm gonna probably start with these and the top shelf, just so that I can hang the brackets back, or hang the plastic bins back up on here, and then I'll probably start back here on the bench top. I'm going to do a bunch of tacks. I'm not gonna weld any solid beads. There's just going to be a bunch of tacks, really close together, and I'm going to come across and even though this is underneath the pegboard, I can still access that metal there. So what I'll probably do is like shove a flathead screwdriver in there or something to pinch it down and then tack it. Move it over, pinch it down, tack it, and then come all the way across. You know, ideally, if I wasn't impatient, this pegboard would have went up after the top was put on, but I'm impatient and it's no big deal. Once I tack it all the way around, I'll come back at least on the front side and the two sides, grind down the tacks so that there's no imperfections. And then I'm going to start working on tacking up the cabinet floors. And then that's pretty much it for tonight, I think. Oh, no. I'm gonna actually, before I take all this down, I'm gonna cut this down. This actually was just leftover piece, but it's like perfect for the back here. Hold on, I know you can't really see but see right there, it's perfect for that. So I'm gonna cut that down to size and weld that in as well while I'm working on the shelf. And when I get some extra money, I'll order in, let me see, I'm gonna need I'll order in 2 more sheets of metal. I might go, I'll have to see how much for sure the 16 gauge cost me, but I might drop down to something thinner. That's not, the thicker stuff is not really necessary for the sides of the cabinet and the doors on the cabinet. It's not really necessary for the last two pieces I'll have up there. So I might run with something thinner just to get the price down on it. I know that Klein Steel, that's my steel supplier, they sell painted sheet metal, 22 gauge. I think 20 and 22 gauge painted sheets, aluminum sheets for like 25 bucks. So I'm hoping that maybe I can get some unpainted steel for maybe 18 gauge or something in that ballpark, for hopefully in that same vicinity as far as cost. We'll see. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys in a second once I get all this stuff tacked up, and then I'll call it a night. Okay, YouTube, I'm going to call it a night. It's about 4:15 in the morning. I didn't get as much done as I hoped for. I did finish up all the bin mounts. You can see how I got that piece of 16 gauge that pretty much goes full from the top to the bottom. And even though these are pretty much just resting on the bench, I wanted the hanger there to keep them from sliding out and just sliding all over the bench top. And I fully welded the strap, but then just tack welded everything across. Bunch of tack welds. It's plenty strong enough. Let me kind of just give you an idea. I've got this tape measure in here, C-clamp, let's hang this hammer from it. Put that crescent wrench in there. I don't know how much weight that is, but that's significant. You can kind of see what the sag difference is. Terrible view, but let me unload everything. You can have an idea. There's very little sagging at all. So that's why I wanted that full back support on there, because otherwise there would have been a ton of sagging there. Basically, I finished all those up on both sides. Started tack welding the surface on. I know I said I was going to do this shelf first, but I changed my mind. I did run into a problem. Everything's going okay as far as this. I got these tacks all on there and ground smooth. These tacks, I'll eventually add more to this face side. I'm not so concerned about the side over here just yet, because once I box in the cabinet, I'm going to have a piece of sheet metal obviously over to here, so then I could tack this in here and grind that down a little bit smoother. But this, once I'm done all the way around here and I let it cool off, I'll come back through here and do it again and try to clean up, because right now it looks like a keyway from like a castle or something. It's not terrible, it's a workbench, but I'd like that to be a smooth transition if at all possible. Here's where the problem is. I talked about plasma cutting holes in this bench, and I was going to plug weld them. I should have made the holes bigger, because I think these first three held, but these ones didn't. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over them again, because some of these are not welded properly. I'm going to just drop another bead or tack weld on those so that I can grind them down smooth, and then I'm going to, maybe tomorrow when I have an extra set of hands, one of the kids, I'll have them push down on this, and I'll get underneath there and then tack weld it from the bottom. There's not much I'm going to be able to do about this except for the same fucking thing. Hopefully they'll hold, but I'm not too, based on how that worked, I'm not too confident that they will. So I'll probably end up just having to do the same thing there. And then just keep tack welding this all the way around, and then I'll remove these bottom row bends and start running the tacks along the backside. This backside, I probably won't even grind them. I'm not sure. Maybe the top surface, but definitely not the back here. Definitely not back here behind here. And just keep going all the way around. That should probably keep me busy for, all these tack welds should keep me busy for a good part of the day. Then I'll start working on the top. And that's pretty much it, you know. I'm really happy with how things are turning out. You know, I've had a couple of speed bumps along the way, but nothing major at all. Pretty satisfied. Let me know what you, ouch, sorry, tripping over my chair. Let me know what you guys think, how it's turning out, and if you have any suggestions or anything that you see any problems that I might have overlooked, definitely let me know. Yeah, subscribe, comment, like, check out the links down in the description. I have a lot of links. First one's Alvarez Metalworks, that's the most important. Go like my Facebook page, please, that's what that is. The rest of the links are just for my welder, plasma cutter, chop saw, anything that I'm using that's related to this project, with the exception of these yellow Stanley bins. I was only able to find these things at homedepot.com, and I actually think that they're discontinued. So I'm not even going to bother putting the link to those up, because you might place an order like I did and it drag out for a long time, and you might be the unlucky one that doesn't get them. These little gray ones are really good from Harbor Freight. They're actually substantially cheaper than these as well. They're not a lot smaller. And if you want some bigger ones, I believe Home Depot sells some blue ones that replace these for basically the same price. So check those out at Home Depot if you want a little bit larger ones, or just check out Amazon in general. There's lots of those bins on Amazon. So anyways, for those that have subscribed and been watching this build, thank you, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.